So you're exhibiting at a trade show such as ISSA Show North America, and you wonder how to get the most out of your investment. You have products to sell, equipment, solutions, services, and hundreds of others surround you with the same goal to get the attention of trade show attendees that are walking by all the time. Well, how do you do that? How do you get their attention? Well, today we're going to visit with Jon Selig, who tells me he has some ideas to help our trade show exhibitors crush it at their booths. Jon, welcome to the program.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me, Jeff.
It's a pleasure. I did notice on your LinkedIn profile, Jon, it says you're half sales guy, half stand-up comedian. You must have no competition out there.
None that I know of, or none that are willing to admit that they do this publicly. So yeah, my background is I was an enterprise technology sales guy for quite some time, selling, for a company called Oracle, which some people might know, they might not know. It's fine. And like every typical enterprise tech sales rep, my career took the next logical step in the process, which was the stand-up comedy stage. Because I like to say that that sales is stand-up comedy without the 2-drink minimum, and stand-up comedy is sales, but with a much crappier comp plan. The two are more similar than we realize, and I put together comedy writing for revenue teams.
I like it. So we might have a joke or two in today's presentation. We'll see what happens. But let's get started. Before we get into the advice you're going to share with us, you've been to a few trade shows in the past. I assume you've been to many trade shows. What are some of the biggest mistakes you've noticed at trade shows? Exhibitors at their booth, they want to make things happen, but they're not. What do you see the problem is?
Oh God, where do we begin? Look, I find it kind of comical, no pun intended, that companies spend north of 6 figures to exhibit at certain trade shows. Again, every conference, every trade show is different. Some of the ones I go to, they're spending a fair bit of money. They're not just spending on the sponsorship, but obviously the exhibit, which they reuse, but they got to ship it back and forth. They got to pay for the installation. Some companies invest big bucks in swag. There's the travel for all the attendees to get there, and some companies have a large presence. And sometimes they want to give away stuff. Maybe there's a prize they're looking to give away. Some people still print off collateral. You got to get paid to get that done up, ship it out there, and the cost of producing it. That's a lot of costs right there. And then the one thing that most organizations forget is, all right, we've got everything set up and we're on the floor and the trade show is starting. What do we do now besides stare at our phones all day and wait for people to say, "What's up, guys?" So the biggest mistake that I see in the world that I kind of inhabit, again, yeah, a lot of staff is standing around. They're on their phones. They're talking to each other. They might greet people walking by in a kind of generic way, like, "How you doing? What brings you to the show today?" I go to some technology trade shows, software companies, and they have younger salespeople there. And I'll never forget, I was at a conference 2 years ago, and there's some company with a 10 by 10 booth. I've never heard of them. I don't know what they do. And I go up to the 25-year-old dude working there, and I say, "Hey, never heard of your company." They were called like Schmizza.ai or some name that doesn't mean anything to any of us. I said, "What business or technical problem do you solve for who?" And without like missing a beat, he goes, "Check it. We're an AI-driven engagement platform and we 10x your scalability. Let's get you into a demo." And I'm like, whoa, like, no, 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 you didn't answer my question. And he's like, "Yeah, I did." I said, "No." I said, "What problem do you solve and for who?" He launched into a pitch, like a rehearsed pitch full of buzzwords, and he wanted to show me what the product does. It's technology. And I said to him, "Not only did you not answer my question, but you didn't even try to figure out who I am or why I'm at this show. You didn't try to probe for, why is it I might be approaching your booth? I could be your competitor and you're going to show me a demo." That doesn't seem like a good use of his company's funds, getting at least this person there. and even exhibiting in the first place. Because if all you're going to do is scan a bunch of badges, which some trade shows, that's all they're looking to do. At least again, I come from the tech world, uh, um, and I've gone to a lot of other kind of trade shows, whether it's mining or manufacturing. There's less of a desire to scan badges, but it's still there. And some people are more concerned with scanning the badge than having a meaningful conversation with attendees. So that's a lot to start.
A
Maybe
lot of
we'll.
good information there. And I've been there too, where you walk into a booth and they have a pitch, they have a robotic script that they're going to share with you no matter what. It's what that 25-year-old was probably told to do. Get someone in, do a demo, don't answer the question.
Yeah, and it's poor planning. I mean, at the end of the
Yeah.
day, it doesn't matter how much they're spending. There's a minimum cost to being on the trade show floor, and that's seems to be the thing that no one thinks about. Is like, once we're there, what's our game plan? How are we
Mhm.
approaching people? How are we going to drive meaningful conversations and less meaningless badge scans?
Yeah, if you have a commodity, that's one thing, but usually when you're at a trade show, you have a product or service solutions to offer. And you were right, asking them what challenge they solve. That's what people want. Find those pain points and get rid of them. So let's do this. John, you're going to be at a trade show. You're going to exhibit. You're going to show off some stuff. Would you crush it at your own booth? Talk about
Yeah.
that.
So, and better yet, like I'll share. I have a client who came to me. Let's go there. They were exhibiting and they were selling a bit of a complex software solution that was a little like wordy to explain and convoluted. And they said, we stink at explaining, like, again, what problem do we solve? They came to me and they said, can you help us write some hyper relevant icebreakers? So, we didn't really get into the what I do, but I do two things. I do sales training and enablement, where I get sellers better understanding what problems they solve for who and what can go wrong if they don't solve them, by getting them to write jokes, short, quick, hyper relevant humor, 1 to 2 sentences long, that paints a powerful picture about a point you're trying to impress upon your audience. The other side of my business is I go ahead and I write the jokes for them. So this client asked, can you help me? Can you write some jokes for us? And again, a joke isn't a long-winded story that involves various clergymen walking into an establishment of ill repute and saying offensive things to each other. Just a classic 1 or 2 liner, setup, punchline, old school Twitter, 140 characters kind of thing. So they were struggling with generating those conversations and educating people on the trade show floor. I ran a discovery with these guys. I understood the problems they solve and what happens if they don't solve it, who's affected. And I wrote them this basket of short, quick icebreakers. And the CRO, Chief Revenue Officer, and his top sales guy, and they're just a small sales team of 6. They each took one of the jokes that they really liked, they made it their own, and they used that to start conversations at the booth with prospects, and that led to $100,000 in net new revenue in just 2 months. And they converted the other ones into cold emails with my help, and that generated another $60,000. So again, we're talking about the software industry. It's different than probably a lot of the listeners checking into this podcast do things, different dynamics. But for them, they were really happy with those results. So, I go to trade shows, and I don't tell anybody, but I solicit. I know it's a dirty word, but I do it. So I will go up to someone at the trade show booth and they'll go, hey, can I help you? And I'll say, look, I just want to be upfront. I'm not your prospect. I'm not your prospect at all. So if at some point during this conversation, one comes over and wants to sign a lifetime agreement with you, you can violently push me away and I will not hold anything against you. Are we good? And they go, yeah, we're good. Most of the time I get them laughing and they go, my name is Jon Selig. I'm half sales guy, half stand-up comedian, all parental disappointment. I'm the founder and creator of comedy writing for revenue teams. Sometimes when I say half stand-up comedian, they're already laughing again. And the point is, I'm earning attention in these short bursts, and I'm earning more of their time. And once I make them laugh a couple of times, I'm able to kind of go into really what it is I do and why I'm at their booth. So let's unpack that and how that can apply the other way for booth staff. What's a common problem that everybody attending the ISSA show, what's a problem that they're all looking to solve?
So a lot of people are looking to hire better staff. They're trying to do more with less. They're trying to increase productivity. So with the staffing issues facing the industry, they're looking at robotics and equipment that's innovative, that saves time. That's a big pain point.
Yep. So, okay, so great.
And they're looking for the newest thing out there, the newest thing to help them clean or using their facilities. And there's always products and solutions everywhere that they can embrace.
Can you
Which
give me an
ones work?
example? Can you give me an example of a process that's common across the industry, a cleaning process or technique
Sure.
that is problematic and people feel can be improved upon?
So you have floor care is a big part of the industry. So you have a big building, you've got to vacuum the floors or run machines to clean the floors, all run by people. Back to the same issue of staffing. With fewer staff available and harder to find good people, they have autonomous robotic machines that will run a route that is programmed in, whether it's vacuuming or a floor machine to clean hard floors. Finding those machines out of that type of technology as a facility or a contractor that's affordable and easy to onboard is critical, because it's one thing to spend money on something. It's another thing to how do we bring it into the building? How do we train our people to run it? How does
Hmm.
it work?
So you listed off about 7 different premises for jokes.
Mhm.
That short answer you gave. And the simplest one that comes to mind, because I've worked with a couple of clients who wanted humor, highlighting the exact problem of it's hard to find the right staff. Like there's a labor shortage going on right now. So imagine someone comes up to your booth, and I'm working the booth, and I say, "Hey, you want to hear a joke about a shortage of labor, the shortage of labor, and how that leads to your facilities not being up to standard as far as cleanliness, and shorten that, kind of like I'm just trying to put it together in my head. But you want to hear a joke about the labor shortage in the cleaning world. What would the person coming up to me say if I greet them with that? Hey, sir, ma'am, do you want to hear a joke about insert problem, which we solve?
They're going to say, of course.
They might say, of course, but I'm even
I'd want to
willing
hear
to.
the joke.
I don't have one, to be clear, but we need to write one and put it together.
Sure.
But when you ask someone, do you want to hear a joke about something that's very specific to their job, and that's possibly preventing them from achieving their objectives, their curiosity will be piqued. And let's face it, most people, I'm sorry, I don't know how much fun the ISSA show is. Most people would prefer to not be there. Maybe the company owners, the presidents want to be there because it's a big opportunity to do some business. But kind of the vast majority of people attending, I'm sure they're there because it's part of their job. They'd rather be with their families, watching some Netflix, most likely.
That could be. There's some 12,000 or more that'll be there. A crowd like that, you're always going to have quite the mix. And some do
Yeah,
bring your families and make it a family trip, a write-off. Maybe they'd rather be at the casino than the trade show floor, but that's who knows.
those poor children.
Leave them in the hotel room or at the pool.
But either way, look, I think it doesn't take much to be different in the world of business to business. It really doesn't. We're living in a world where so much interaction is done from behind a screen. Even things like customer service it's becoming all AI driven. A lot of the content that's being created is AI driven. The human experience is lacking, and a willingness and an ability to show your prospects, and you really understand their challenges and what's driving them nuts, is a key to marketing and sales. And if we could package that inside up in a human way that makes them laugh and feel glad that they're there in that moment with you, that's going to lead to time, attention, trust, credibility, and a longer conversation, which is really the whole point of trade shows in the first place.
It is. This has been refreshing because, in a way, it's simple, but people forget the simple part because, as you mentioned, they're on their phones or they have a pitch they're going to start with. Instead, look at everyone as an individual walking in with a challenge to solve and a conversation that will lead to the solution.
Yeah, and I know that in some industries they're very hung up on data points. Make sure we can talk to 200 people. Well, do we need to talk to 200 people, or do we need to talk to 40 quality people, if that makes sense? Have 40
It
quality
does.
conversations. Yeah, some people are very focused on that volume, and the volume might be meaningless. So how can we get back to quality? And if I can make you laugh about a problem that I can solve as a vendor, you're laughing either because, well, first of all, it's probably because it's true and you're aware of the existence of that problem. It's painful to you, but it's either been true and painful in the past, it's going to be one in the future, or it's a problem that's true and painful right now. And if you don't laugh, there's still going to be people who, depending on how the joke is worded and structured, they might get hung up on the content and they might go, well, that's interesting that you say that. Like, it doesn't matter if they don't laugh, right? We're just trying to provoke a conversation about why they should be having a conversation with us.
Exactly. That's the point. Trade show is
Yeah.
about networking, talking about solutions, engaging people so they don't walk off to the next booth without engaging you at yours.
And believe me, I've done those two intro jokes when I meet sales leaders. Sometimes I do not get a single laugh. Like I get a good amount of laughs, which is why I keep doing it, because it's working. But sometimes the ones who I'm bombing in front of after those two jokes, they're the ones who like my spiel the most, and they're just keeping a straight face. They're trying to test me a little bit, and they'll give me all the information I need, or they're the right person in the first place. And it doesn't mean anything just because someone doesn't laugh. It doesn't mean they don't appreciate the engagement and the thought put into what it is you're saying to them.
Mhm. John, good stuff. Did we miss anything you want to add?
Yeah. Now that you asked,
Go ahead. Wrap it up for us
that-
with your final thoughts.
yeah. So you got to write a volume of jokes. Not like a hefty volume, but like it's good to have, to write it, to get one or two really quality ones. You got to write like 7 to 10, I would say. Um, But then once you have those jokes, you can do more with them beyond just the trade show floor. So, a lot of conferences these days have applicate like mobile apps and has all the attendees in there, and you could broker meetings. But it's hard to reach out to someone cold, say, "Hey, you don't know me, but do you want to meet?" What if you can use that exact same short, quick one-liner that's hyper relevant, that highlights that problem to the person you want to meet, so that when they open the app and they see a message, it's something different, it's something refreshing for them, and they're like, "Oh, who's this? I want to read more. I like that opening sentence." So it's a great way to prospect, to get those meetings right at the, like, leading up to the event, and then meeting your prospect at the event. And there's even jokes to be used to follow up. So, and if you keep doing this, some people say, "Oh, our business is serious. Our prospects are serious." They're humans. 99.9% of people enjoy laughing and smiling. They don't take it all so seriously. Yes, you might hit on someone who's like, "This is really serious. How dare you make light of this problem we're struggling with?" But that's really by far not the norm. Most people will appreciate it. And I think if you could make them laugh a couple of times in your cadence, or with them, is an industry term that people use to from a sales perspective, like your touch points with them, if you can make them laugh across multiple touch points in a relevant way, to be clear, not a frivolous way, a hyper relevant, memorable way. Excuse me, I think I screwed something up in there, but that's okay. They're going to remember it, because when you can make someone laugh, they're going to remember you for it, especially if you do it in a way that's meaningful to them. So I hope that kind of explains how you can use humor before the trade show, at the trade show, and afterwards.